And welcome back to today's Retirees with certified financial planner Wayne Maslyk of Great Lakes Benefits and Wealth Management. You know, this COVID chaos, this virus nightmare, I mean, this has been going on since, February? We're recording this in June of 2020. There's a lot of folks. I mean, you were mentioning this as we took our break. They're rethinking. There's a lot of time. You're dealing with stuff that you've never dealt with in your life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and when you do financial planning and retirement planning, the main focus for the most part is how do you invest your money. Try and keep your taxes low. Make sure your income is high enough to sustain your lifestyle, right? But you learn through this, now future planning, we got to make sure we have enough toilet paper, enough water, enough paper towels, enough cash on hand, at home. It's really going to be changing the way people think and set up their household moving forward. I mean, a lot of folks were really scared, especially people that were out traveling. Should you come home? Should you stay where you're at? People that had offices to go to, should they go into work? Should they stay home? Especially if there were other cities or big city type stuff. So, people I think will be changing, some of their planning moving forward.
Sure. Now, your clients, you were mentioning before, they're rethinking some of their strategy.
Some of the clients.
Yeah, right. I mean, everybody's different. Have you come across a rule of thumb, because everybody's different?
So I have hundreds of clients, and one person during all this went to cash, just one.
Okay.
I have some that called. Should they, or texted me or emailed me in March, this is scary. And the worst thing you could have done at that time is go to cash. We talked earlier, the S&P was 2,200, low twos. Right. And if you'd have went to cash at that point, the S&P now is hovering around 3,000. So you would have missed all that upswing and, maybe never get your money back.
Wow.
So once you have a plan, you really need to stick to it no matter how tough things get. But then when things rebound, then you can make your changes to take less risk or get out of the market, or you just don't want to do it in the middle of all that turmoil.
Now that it's rebounding a little bit, people looking at their investments, should they be a little more aggressive?
Well, potentially. I mean, the time to get more aggressive was a couple months ago. Okay?
when the bottom first fell out.
That's, when there's blood in the water, right? Or that's when you invest to get more aggressive or go from cash into certain stocks or investments.
Okay.
But now it's just more of a personal household type decision. When you invest in the market, are you going to be aggressive investors or middle of the road or conservative? And I would say more people are thinking of, more safety, being more conservative as opposed to getting more aggressive.
Okay. Now, you also have mentioned through the years about, having your safe money, these buckets of money. Should it be a time to reevaluate that?
Every year you really reevaluate, your safe risk ratio. And then when we go through something like this, people that maybe weren't so concerned about safety in the past, all of a sudden rethink, we really need to, look at our safety portion and make sure we have enough in there. Sure. When the things are going bad in the markets, those safe monies, they don't go down. I mean, there's multiple vehicles, I don't like getting specific on the show, but there's multiple vehicles you can have that are safe. So when the markets do tank, none of that money is getting affected. As far as losing, getting negative numbers, seeing red on your statements or minuses or parentheses, you have to worry about any of that.
Right.
It's just what you have in the markets.
Sure.
So you want to have that proper portion. You want to have enough in the market where bad things happen, you could stomach it, right? It's not making you lose sleep. And it's not going to mess up your overall retirement or financial plan because you lost too much because you took too much risk with too much of your money.
Sure.
That's what you got to be aware of. It's a key thing.
Well, and that's what you help folks do, is to figure out what that needs to be.
Just get them to think through the process, and then they come up with their own numbers. There's no right number. It's a personal or household or couple decision.
But it's got to be that, and I'm just imagining here, when you weather something like this, and especially if you knew somebody in the household that came down with this virus. Some of these folks were in some pretty medical situations, for a length of time. I'm sure that puts a fear a little bit in your family, and you've got to think all this stuff through.
Yeah, I mean that's a bad scenario if you had someone that actually got ill from the virus, but most folks didn't have that to deal with. But
Sure.
you still had the fear to deal with. There's a lot of fear out there with the retired, group, that age group, and even if you had underlying, issues, health issues, or just certain things that make you more at risk, it's a scary thing.
Sure.
I mean, you got a lot of people that, governor says stay in, the government says stay in, they stayed in. You could wear your mask when you go out. They wore their mask. I mean, they're following the rules to the T.
Right.
And that's, to me, that was very interesting. So a lot of people, you get rules, people poo-poo 'em or this, but people really followed these guidelines. Especially in this state with Dr. Atkins and Governor DeWine and that. It's pretty cool. Yeah, as far as the fear, it's a real thing. It really, and it really gets people thinking about their money, not just their health, but
Right.
And all of a sudden, making $1 zillion in the market isn't so important.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, friends, we'll be back in just a moment, but let me just remind you to go to Wayne's website, todaysretirees.com, todaysretirees.com. And again, on that website, you can sign up for a free newsletter, lots of information. You can look at older shows that we have done through the years. We'll be back right after this.